At only 11 years old, John Boie was introduced to basketball and immediately knew this was a sport he intended to excel at. By 2020, he had won his first Paralympic gold medal in Tokyo and then went back to back by picking up his second gold medal in Paris this past fall. Welcome, John.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, John, boy, that was that no pun intended. That was a heck of a tournament. You guys really worked your way right through the whole lineup.
Yeah, Paris was unbelievable. Very different experience from Tokyo, but we really came together as a squad and made history. It was awesome.
Yeah, you certainly did. John, one of the quotes that you gave, which I thought was really good, was that this core group of guys was the guys who essentially set their own standard. This was really a heck of a team. This was a dream team, essentially.
Yeah, we have a lot of guys that are, their motivation is, built off of each other, right? Like we don't want to let each other down. You see a lot of superstar teams, in the NBA or whatever, and everybody's out trying to get their own piece. And this is truly a team of the most unselfish, group of players that really just want to help each other and not let each other down. I think that's what sets us apart from other teams.
One of the things I found really interesting about you, John, is that you're a 1.0 player. So, just not that we have to get into the whole point value, but there's 14 points out there on the floor at any one time. So everybody really has to count. So I just want to dabble back into rugby. As you probably know from being in adaptive sports, there's what they consider to be low pointers out there on the floor. And they're very valuable because they know how to set plays, make picks, and do the right things. As a 1.0 player, I just found it sort of interesting that you embrace that role so well and play it so well. What are some of the characteristics of being a 1.0 player?
Yeah, I mean, the 1.0 player is not typically the guy that makes the flashy plays and, has the highlight reel moments, kind of think of a lineman in football, right? They're usually not the flashy person, but I grew up on a farm. I'm used to hard work, and I think on the basketball court, I embrace that role of doing the dirty work, doing the stuff that might not show up on a stat sheet, but I know the importance of it. I know my teammates really appreciate the moves that I make to get them set up to make some really big plays or hit some big buckets.
Yeah, so we're going to go back and touch on characteristics, but as long as you've talked about a stat sheet, I found this really pretty interesting. I went back and looked at the gold medal game against GB. So Brian Bell, who's a 4.5, he was out on the floor for 40 minutes. Sirio was out on the floor for 32 minutes. Trey Jennifer was out on the floor for 40 minutes. You were out there for 38 minutes, man. So you were essentially go ahead and say you played the whole game minus 2 minutes. So you really bring a lot of value out onto the floor.
Yeah. And even looking back at Tokyo, I played 40 minutes the entire game, the entire tournament. I embrace my role, and I really know that a lot of my teammates trust me in doing what I can out there to, put them in good spots. And they also trust me back to, guard those high-class players or, hit an open bucket if teams leave me open. Another part of being a class one is when they filter the ball to me and, I hit a bucket or, they leave me open and I seal in Brian Bell or Trey for a layup, and it is just backbreaking. The other teams really don't know what else to do to stop us. It's frustrating, and I love being in that role sometimes.
So talk about that. What is that chemistry? Is it an unspoken chemistry? Is it something that you learn to work with? How do you work with and how do you learn to work with it from a chemistry standpoint with a Jake Williams, a Brian Bell, a Trayvon Jennifer to get them the ball, to set the picks? What is the chemistry?
A lot of it is timing. Each of those guys you mentioned, and some of the guys that even come off the bench that I work with, like Salazar, you got to learn like when they want to cut to the basket, when the help leaves, like when are you setting the seal? Or with Sirio, he's a guy that you'll see oftentimes is the one that will pass me the ball for those short shots. I know when to space from him, just kind of reading the floor. And I think that comes from so much time playing together and also playing in really big moments, like at World Championships in Tokyo, and even some different qualifying tournaments to really learn like when you need to be places and where to be exactly.
Even more than learn, do you think you get to a point where you sense? I mean, is there something that's completely unspoken that you don't even have to you don't have to go into a huddle and have a discussion. You just kind of know what this guy's characteristics are.
For sure. I think that's part of playing so long together. And in Paris, it was so loud out on the court. At times, you could be talking and yelling, but the guy next to you can't hear you, and he's 5 feet away. So I think there's a lot of moments, especially me and Brian. Brian Bell and I play together almost all the time on offense and almost all the time on defense. We could play and not talk, and we would probably have a good idea what the other guy's thinking.
John, I'm going to go out on a limb and talk about what I kind of see from some of the footage I've watched of you play and the team play in general. But the characteristics of a 1.0, and correct me and if I'm wrong or enhance on this, but I see a 1.0 as having to be a really observational player. You got to be able to see what's happening. You have to have a lot of pre-planned focus. You can't twist, turn, and maneuver the same way as a Brian Bell or a Trey Jennifer. They just move so quickly. You have to have keen instincts, and you have to be able to set up the moves for the high value player to score. Is that the basics of a 1.0, and how can you enhance on that?
Yeah, by the way, the guys you mentioned, unbelievable chair skills. I mean, if you ever want to, aspire to know how to move your chair, watch those guys move. But yeah, I think as a one, right, I have less function than some of those higher class players. So that's where you got to be planning ahead a little bit more, so that you're ready to be in that spot, to be in a position, to have your balance ready. Because I don't have the same balance as some of those guys do. And that's also where that timing comes into play, and that timing window goes smaller and smaller as you go onto those higher levels. So when the help leaves and I want to set a seal for Brian, Brian might be like ready to go, but he's got to know that I'm also moving, or he's just gonna ram into me. So it's definitely planning way ahead, just so that you're ready, because you don't have the same function. But that's where I think I brought a lot of value, is I'm able to sense exactly when I need to take off and to bring that guy with me to the bucket.
So for you, do you see it more as you being a guy who sets plays and sets picks, or passes the ball at the right time? What is it that you anticipate when you get out on the floor? What is it you hope to bring to the table in every single time up and down the floor?
I think I pride myself a lot on my defense. Typically, when we play other teams, their high class player, their Brian Bell, is probably looking for me on the court, and you'll see it oftentimes that they'll cross the court so they can get that matchup. So that's where I think I bring a huge advantage to our team. I can guard higher class players. I got long arms to reach to block them or to contest shots. And my teammates trust me a lot to guard some of those guys, which in the numerical advantage, right? You get 14 points on the floor. It gives a huge advantage if I'm guarding a 3 or a 4, and the rest of my guys are going against their 4. It gives a huge advantage to us.
So you got the two gold medal Paralympic experience. You got Tokyo, you got Paris. When you think back on over the course of those two quads, and you obviously you're probably looking at one more with 2028 coming up, right?
Maybe. We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
we'll see. So just reflect back over Paris. Thinking back, what were some of the one or two really outstanding moments that stick out in your head?
Uh, I mentioned a little bit earlier, COVID was going on during Japan and Tokyo. One of the big moments for me was having my family and friends at all the games. That was really, really special to me. I made a point of not like finding them in the crowd before the game, but afterwards, absolutely pointing them out and going and seeing them. That was a really special thing for me. The other part was, as the tournament progressed, and I know as it went on that this is probably the last time that you're going to have those 5 guys on the court, maybe. Just really relishing that time with those brothers, those people that you've spent the last 4 or 8 years on playing with, and really just cherishing those moments together.
Yeah, John, that must be really special as a team. So many of the sports that carry more of an individual nature to them, you don't get that same experience. But being together with those guys, you have to work, hand in hand with them for a number of years. It's not just a matter of get together and playing a little pickup ball. So you've got a really strong camaraderie with these men.
Yeah, I mean, you hear the term brotherhood a lot with our squad, with our team. But it's true. I mean, you see these guys so often, but it's also, connected in personal lives. We know each other's kids, and they come up and say hi, and they give you big hugs. And, seeing them at tournaments throughout the year is really a good time too, just to reconnect. And, it's game time when we get out on the court, but it's really a special friendship and a memory that we'll have together forever.
If someone were looking at basketball, and basketball is really thriving right now, I noticed that there are 250 teams that have entered the NWBA in this upcoming 2025 season. What is it you would tell somebody that wanted to get involved in basketball? Why would they want to choose this as their chosen sport?
Basketball has given me everything. I have a different point of view, I think, of where I started, but basketball has given me a ton of friendships. It's given me, the opportunities to travel the world and meet presidents and meet all sorts of people. But also it connects me with other folks that are in a similar situation as me. So you can kind of poke fun at some disabilities with each other, and maybe talk a little bit about what's going on with each other's lives and problem solve, and come up with some different solutions. So it's connected. It'll connect you in ways that you may not realize, and it'll also take you, all over the country and around the world potentially, depending on how hard and you want to work and how much you want to put in.
Well, hey, man, you're a two-time gold medalist. Congratulations once again. And hope to see you back in 2028 because I know you've probably got more in the tank.
I think I do, but I'm enjoying a little bit of a break right now.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.